Lesson 6-5, solving proportion. So everything we did last week is leading up to this. Proportions are an equation, that means there has to be an equal sign, of ratios. And we learned last week ratios are a comparison of two numbers, and we looked at ratios as fractions in simplest form. So basically an equation of two equal fractions. That's what a proportion is. So we'd use what's called the cross products rule. And the cross products rule is this: when you have a proportion, if you cross, that's what I'm going to say every time we do this, multiply diagonals and they're equal, it's proportional. So basically 2 times 6 should equal 3 times 4. So you multiply across those diagonals, and in this case we get 12 equal to 12, which makes, yes, it's a proportion. And so you're going to get that sometimes, ask whether they really are proportional. The main thing that you're going to do here is you're going to be given 3 of those 4 numbers, and you have to find the one that's missing to figure out what you would need to make it proportional. So our first example, it's telling us it's equal C over 36 equals 9 over 15. It says use cross products and solve for the missing number. So this is what you would do. I'm going to multiply the diagonals, so cross cross. I'm going to take 15 times C. Now I know I could put C times 15, but usually when you do when you do a product with a variable, the number goes in front. That's why I went ahead and put 15 in front. 15C equals 9 times 36. So 15C equals, I'm going to go ahead off to the side and take 9 times 36. So 324. And then the last step, as we know, would be divide by 15. So 324. So you can see these are not going to come out evenly. Let's go in there twice. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. And once. I'm going to go ahead and add a decimal and a 0. And 15 goes into 96 times. So 21.6. Any questions about that? And actually you should have done this before, so it should all work out fine. Let's look at a couple of things and then we will actually be done. This one is just showing you that they could have decimals in them. So when we cross, I've got, and I'm not going to use the dot for multiplication because of the decimals. So 16 times 1.5 equals 4.8 times V. So 16 times 1.5 off to the side. There's an 8. So 240 equals 4.8 V. Last step is to divide by 4.8. And yeah, I'm going to have to do this off to the side, so 240. Now, when I'm dividing with decimals, there cannot be a decimal out here, so I've got to move this over one spot, and then I would have to move this over one spot. So really similar to 2,400 divided by 48. I'm thinking that's going to go in there 5 times. So 5 times 8 is 40. Yep, exactly. I don't know why I put that decimal up there. Let me try that again. and then that would be 0, so 50. So V equals 50. Questions about that? Okay, word problems. When you are doing a word problem, you're going to compare some things, and you have to write the proportion and solve it. So basically this is saying X inches in 0.54 hours, 4.55 inches in 1.89 hours, write and solve proportions. So what are the two things that are being compared here? The two different kinds of numbers, Dakota? Inches an hour. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to put inches to hours out in front. That is how I always set up proportions, because that helps me make sure I have the numbers in the right spot. So the inches are going to go on top and the hours are going to go on the bottom. So I do fraction bar, equal sign, fraction bar. That's the beginning of my proportion. The first set says X inches in 0.54 hours. So if I'm going to put inches on top, what do you think I should put there for that first set? Tori?
X.
X. And then what should go under the hours, or for the hours?
0.54.
0.54. Okay, the other set, inches, so 4.55 inches in 1.89 hours. We're missing another in or something there. But what goes on top from that set? 4.55. And what would go for the bottom then? 1.89. Lots of decimals in this. Okay. So write and solve the proportion. So we have written the proportion. Now we've got to solve it by crossing through the diagonals, crossing the diagonals. And I get 1.89x equals 0.54 times 4.55. Okay, so 1.89x, and we're going to have to multiply this over here. I've got 4.55, and I'm going to multiply by 0.54. Okay, so 4 times 5 is 20, and again, plus the 2. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 2, 18. Now 5 times 5 is 25, and again, okay, and 22. 0, 7. And there's actually there's 4 decimal places in the problem. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 2.4570, I'm not going to write the 0, divide by 1.89, and x equals, okay, this should be nice and messy, right? 2.457, 1.89. What do I need to do about the decimals here when I'm dividing? Anybody know? I'm going to move it over 2 spots, so that means that moves this over 2 spots and goes straight up here. 1.89 goes in here 1 time. So there's a 3. This would be 6 and 5. 567. I'm going to try 3. 3 times 9 is 27. 24, 26. Man, I lucked out. So 1.3. I hope they all come out that nice. It looked really messy, but it worked out. How should I label that? 1.3 what? What is it? Inches. That was the part we didn't know, so it needs to be labeled. So if they give you word problems like that, make sure you label. Write the proportion. I always do something like this out in front. It helps me keep straight of what numbers go on top and what numbers go on the bottom. If I decide inches over hours, then I know on both sides I put the inches on top. I could just as easily have written hours over inches. It doesn't really matter. It's just whichever way you decide it, that's the way you got to do it in both of the ratios. Okay, it can go either way. Last thing is they're going to ask, are they proportional? So we're just given two fractions here. Are they proportional? So basically, do the cross product rule. Cross, cross. So 2 times 7.1. Check and see if it's equal to 5 times 3.6. Over on the right, that would be 14.2. Over on the left, looks like it would be 18. So the answer, because they are not equal, what do you think? Are they proportional? No. When those two multiply out and they're exactly equal, yes, they're proportional. If they're not, then definitely not.